Hello, how are you doing this morning? Hope you're really well. I'm just flicking through this magazine for some inspiration for today's session. So it's a National Trust magazine, and these sorts of magazines are really great for what I'm going to be showing you to do today. So something like a magazine on nature, a magazine on gardening, that sort of thing. That's going to give us some really good inspiration. So the technique that I'm going to be showing you today is called mono screen printing. So mono meaning one, so we just get really one print out of this. And what's so lovely about this printmaking technique is that you can get colour merges and sort of details that you can't get from normal painting. Plus it's so much quicker. You'll absolutely love it. So you can follow along with this if you've got screen printing equipment. So you just need your screen and your squeegee and some few paints. But if you don't have any screen printing equipment, then you can make a really good screen out of a pair of tights and an embroidery hoop. And then as your squeegee, use a credit card. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do it now. So the first thing that we'll need to do is to create our screen. So I'm just going to pop you down very quickly so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay. So the first thing to do is to prepare your tights. So start by removing the feet. 40 denier pair of tights are best for this. And also I like to use light coloured tights so that you can see exactly what's beneath when you're printing. So cut off the toes, and then I want you to cut off the pants part, so the waistband and the pants part, so you'll end up with two legs like that. Then I want you to chop your legs into 4, like that, and then chop down side to open that up. So you'll end up with 4 bits of tights. So I'm just going to show you with one today, but the great thing is you can wash these once you've done, so you can reuse them in the screen. And while they're drying, you can use the others. So there we are, there's our 4 pieces, and that's going to make our screen. So I just need to take one of those and put it into the embroidery hoop. Now this is probably the hardest bit that you're going to do today, and if you have got another person there, it's a good idea to get them to lend you a hand, but I'll show you how to do it just with 2 hands. So I lay the smaller hoop without the screw part, I lay that down onto the table. I stretch a piece of tights over, flip the hoop over, and then take those 2 ends that are hanging over the edges and then bring them to the middle. And then just hold them with your thumb and your forefinger. Take the other piece, stretch it to the middle. Again, hold it with your thumb and forefinger, and then the same thing again, the other side. So as I said, this is the hardest bit, and if you let go now, then you have to start again, but we're good. So then I take the hoop that's got the screw, the larger hoop, pop that inside, and then just tighten it up. So I will just do this one-handed to start with, just to get a little bit of a grip on the tights, and then you can let the tights go. And then tighten that up as much as you can. There we go. Phew, we're done. So now just pull the tights really tight all the way around without stretching them. And this is why I suggest using a 40 denier or higher, because you do need to pull them quite tight. Anything else sort of lower denier than that, you might ladder. So that is our basic screen. with these bits here, I don't tend to cut them off, just because if you cut them off, they might then spring back the other side. So when we're printing, you can either just pin them back just with a sewing pin, or just fold them back like that, but they shouldn't get in the way too much. So with our screen made, we then need to think about a design. So we're doing abstract landscapes. And as I said, these sorts of magazines are really good for inspiration. And I found some really nice one here. So I'm going to work on this one here. I love the golds, and you've got the greens and this very, very pale blue sky as well. So there's some really good contrasting layers here. Now, as I say, I'm going to use this as inspiration. The print that's going to come out of this won't be a very detailed print. We're working on the basis of abstract, but it's great to use these sorts of photographs because it gives you a lovely colour palette that's going to work. If it works in the photo, you know it's going to work on your print. And also it's something just to give you an idea. Sometimes it can be really difficult to come up with an idea just in your head. So this is a really great way of getting an idea and being able to translate it into a mono screen print. So I lay the, first of all, I need to just mask off the area where I'm not going to be printed, because as I print, some of the ink can end up all round and it can look really messy. So I want to keep it in a frame. So I flip the screen over, and it's the bit that that makes the drum. This is the part that you want to put the tape on. And I just get masking tape. And I'm just going to mask up about a postcard size area. Go. So you'll see the reason that I use light colour tights as well here, so that you can see through it. So I'm going to position that in about the middle. Again, I'm just using this really as a guide, and I'm just using an HB pencil just to draw each layer on. So I'm not going to include the woman and her dog. And I'm just really marking silhouettes rather than any detail, because it's abstract. You're not really after the detail, it's the silhouettes. So that's my basic. So there's my foreground, my middle ground and my background. And now I just need to, I can put my screen to one side and I can start thinking about the colour palette. So I've got a few brushes here. I've got 4 brushes of sort of varying size. You want sort of thicker, medium-sized brushes rather than thin brushes. I've also got a plate to mix my colours. And then I've gone for some fabric paint because I'm printing onto fabric, but acrylic paint works fine. You can print acrylic onto fabric if you're not going to wash it. And you can also use acrylics onto paper as well. This works fine too. So I'm going to put a little bit of orange because I want some of these golden colours to come through. So I've got some yellow. I've got quite a lot of white because I want to tone these colours down, and plus for my background. I've got some green. And I've also got some blue. So I would suggest not using these colours in their pure form, but mixing them. So, and I would mix each colour before you start painting as well, because once you start painting, you want to go quite quickly. So let's start with this white. And when you're mixing paint, always mix light to dark, because you can always just add little bits at a time. It's much easier to do that than add a lot of the darker colour or start with the darker colour and have to add more light. That way you do waste your paint. So I'm going to start by thinking of this for the foreground colours. So let's just add a tiny bit of yellow, a little bit more. Let's darken that up with a little bit of orange. Well, that might be enough. There's the orange. So that's great for my colours here. I just want to put this brown on the side because I've got this brown going on here. It's going to add a little bit of white just to bulk that up because I need sort of a fair amount of paint. So that's these colours here. So then I just want to think about this green here. So I'm going to change my brush. I'm not going to put this in water yet because I'm going to be using it for actual painting. So what colours? So I said this green. So I'm going to start with the adding yellow because it's quite a greeny yellow. Maybe just a tad more. That's better. Let's add some of that green. That might be a bit too much. Take some off. Can just add some more of that in. I don't want it too minty, so I'm just going to add a bit more yellow just to kind of bring that more into this kind of the acid greens. There we go. There. So I'm happy with that green. Then I want to work on these greens here. So I've got a bit of that acid green there, which I can use, and some here as well. But then we've got this really dark green. So let's take some of that. And I'm just going to add some of the blue in to bring that down. Because you can see it's almost black, but it's not black. So we're just using these colours. And then a bit of orange will deepen that even further. Add some more because I'm going to need, just looked, I haven't quite mixed enough because I've got quite a bit of green to fill. So let's just start again, adding my blue. It's very therapeutic just mixing paint and watching the colours emerge. And when you get that tone, that shade just right, it's very satisfying. There, so that's good. We've got a slightly lighter green here, so I might just going to mix in a bit there. Add a bit of orange just to bring that down. There we go, that's quite a nice bit here for just where the light's hitting it. Okay, so my final colour is here. So that's quite a lot of white. Start with just a tiny bit of blue because it's almost white. So I'm just going to mix this up a little bit more. And while I'm doing this, I just want to let you know about something that's really special that's happening on the Virtual Village Hall page on Sunday the 4th of July. So Sunday the 4th of July, you might know, is National Thank You Day. So it's a huge thank you to all the volunteers who have helped out over the last year, including the NHS and the Scouts and everyone really that's played a huge part in helping. So it's a great way to say thank you. And here on the Virtual Village Hall at 5 o'clock, we've got Ross Kemp, and he will be hosting a quick quiz. And then after that, we'll be saying a big cheers to the volunteers. So it would be amazing to have all of you join us for that. So that's Sunday, the 4th of July at 5 p.m. So that's my blue mixed up. That's my foreground colour and my midground colour. So now it's time to paint. So as you can see, I haven't washed any of these brushes off. I'm keeping them in my hands so that I can use them as I need to next, because I don't want the paint too watery. I want to keep it nice and thick. So let's move that to one side. I need just a scrap piece of paper. This is just so that when I'm printing on the fabric, it doesn't go straight through. This is the fabric I'm printing onto. You can use any sort of natural fabrics. This is calico. I quite like calico because it does have that canvas feel to it. So lay that nice and flat, make sure nothing's underneath. Lay your screen on top. Just make sure that's stuck down nicely. Just got it in about the middle. And then I'm going to start painting. So just move that over for you so you can see. So again, I'm using this colour palette and these shapes and silhouettes as inspiration, but I can't stress enough, this isn't an actual replica of this picture. It's an abstract painting that we're going to do. So let's start by thickly painting on. And for this, you do need to sort of have confidence, even if you don't feel very confident about art and about painting. Have some confidence, because all you're doing is just applying some paint. It really is that simple. You've mixed up your paints already. You've got your colour palette here. You know exactly where those paints need to be. So just have a little bit of confidence. I know it can be quite daunting when you first start out painting. Just going to add just a few bits here. That's the corner coming over. That's a bit darker here too. So I've got this green patch too. So I'm going to make, I really like this green, so I'm going to make this a bit bigger on my painting. And you can see I'm putting it on quite thickly. Then I can go for my my middle ground. So these are my dark greens. So let's just start by thickly painting on that tree. And a bit more of the blue over. Mix the green on top. Okay, and then I need to add my sky, remembering which brush it is. So one thing to remember as well with monoscreen printing, is that where the colour changes, that will show up. So you have to put in these, you have to just fill in the gaps with another colour paint. Try not to leave any areas not painted. I'm going to run out of white paint. So see, I've done this quite quickly, so if you can do it as quick as you can, because you don't want the paint to dry. You need to do it quite thickly and quickly. You don't want that paint drying in the screen. So just put a few in there to the light, and yeah, I think that's pretty much done. Just add a bit more there because that's dried slightly, I can see. Okay, so now it's time to what's called pull the print, and that's where we use our credit card squeegee. And I've moved one to one side. Another one. Okay, so holding the screen with one hand, put the credit card just off of a 45-degree angle, and you're going to pull down, press down nice and firmly, pressing all the ink through the screen, through the tights, and come down below. I just wipe off that paint so it doesn't affect the next bit of the print, and then same thing again. And then holding the fabric down, or the paper if you're printing onto paper, we lift the print, and then there we have our abstract landscape. So as you can see, we've got all these colour merges. As I've printed, I've dragged some of it down, so that's made some more interest there. We've got this green, we've got these skies. So in fact, our sky on the picture was quite bland, but the mono screen printing has turned this into something a lot more interesting. So put in a frame, they look absolutely gorgeous, those little prints. So just nice little prints, so you can use be inspired by magazines, maybe places you visited, maybe places where you live, to paint some print some mono prints.